Girls Basketball Tournament Pairing Show. I'm Bob Lovell from Network Indiana's Indiana Sports Talk alongside Pat McKee from the Indianapolis Star. And Pat, it's great to see you again. And I say this, I know it's terribly cliched, but it doesn't seem possible. We're at the end of the regular season for girls basketball in just a few days and getting ready to play another outstanding tournament.
Absolutely. You know, just a few days ago I was at a game and one of the coaches was remarking how he has only so many practices and so many games left with his team, and he was lamenting that fact because he enjoys working with his team so well.
Well, lamenting the fact that their teams are playing well, we're going to find out tonight. By the end of the evening, everyone will know against whom they'll play when the tournament begins on the week of the 4th of February. And Jason Willey from the IHSAA has compiled some interesting stats. He's Mr. Factoid, and we want to give him credit for that. There are 391 schools entered in this year's tournament, Pat. 387 games in 27 days. There are 3 undefeated teams, Northwestern in 3A, Oak Hill in 2A, Oregon Davis, the defending champs, in 1A. And first time, only one team, brand new to the tournament, Tindley. They're in sectional number 59. Last year's state champs, South Bend, Washington, and 4A, Brebeuf Jesuit in 3A, Heritage Christian in 2A, and Oregon Davis. So some factoids coming up, but the big thing is everyone starts out fresh, and we talk about polls being what they are and records up to this point. I think it's interesting that only 3 teams have managed to go through to this point unscathed in regular season play.
Well, I think it's very, very difficult. I remember last year when we were at this point, and we talked about the undefeated teams, and I think I made the comment that I doubted that anyone would get through the tournament undefeated at that point. And, in fact, that's what happened in the girls' tournament. This year I think there's 1 or 2 teams that have a chance. Oregon Davis in particular, undefeated, you know, number 1 ranked and defending champion. I think they have a fairly good chance of getting through.
Well, Terry Minnick and that group had a tremendous run and seemed to be playing similarly a high level this year, maybe even better if that's possible a year ago. When you look at the polls, 2A Heritage Christian ranked number 1, 2-time defending champs, a loss most recently, kind of broke that string, but another team that has a great chance to make a run in their respective class.
Yes, absolutely. They another team that was undefeated until yesterday when they lost to a highly ranked Kentucky team in a close game. It was tied after 3 quarters, and down the stretch they weren't able to pull it out. But they, too, are another team that has a real good chance of repeating. Very strong.
Brebeuf Jesuit won it in 3A last year, going through, I don't want to use the term rebuilding, but a great number of young ladies not back from that team and moved on. And Coach Kendall Kreinhagen doing a wonderful job. But this seems to be a particularly wide-open class in 3A.
Yeah, I think, you know, you can't say that Brebeuf is a favorite by any means. They're probably not even a favorite in their own sectional. They got moved into a sectional that includes Bishop Chatard, Northwest, a couple of other pretty strong teams, so there'll be competition for them there. Last year's runner-up in 3A, Wawasee, could be the team to beat.
Number 1 right now in the 3A poll is Wawasee. 4A, South Bend, Washington. Maryland Cotton's kids have just done a wonderful job in the last 2 years, sitting atop the poll, obviously with the classic target on their back going into tournament play.
Yeah, they were number 1 most of the year. They fell to number 2 in last week's poll behind Ben Davis. South Bend, Washington took a loss up in the Chicago shootout, or the McDonald's shootout they call it. And they've played very, very well. In that weekend tournament, they had 1 game where they won convincingly, but then lost the second game of the weekend event. Ben Davis has taken 1 loss this year, also a very strong team. Going in, I think those are the 2 teams people are looking at all year long, a dream matchup if they're in the finals.
Well, and dream matchups clearly are what people look for, but you and I think realize, as long as we've all been involved in this, that upsets are basically the rule rather than the exception in tournament play, and you see it happen in the sectional rounds.
Well, I think the semifinal night in particular is a night when you really see lots of upsets. For the first round night, you see teams, they're excited and they're focused and they had several days to prepare. You know, sometimes after they win that game, they jump ahead to that final game thinking, oh, we're going to win the sectional now. And that semifinal round, the Friday night round, is often the night when you see lots of upsets because people tend to overlook it.
We are live downtown on the Circle in Indianapolis at the Emmis Communications Building. We encourage you to come out and join us, and we appreciate everyone listening to us on the IHSAA Methodist Sports Medicine Championship Radio Network around the state, and also viewing us on IHSAsports.org. Pat, we're going to start out with 1A, go 1A North, and talk about the matchups, and then 1A South, and then throughout the rest of the night wrap up the other classes. It's kind of an interesting exercise for us because we know, as we can see to our left from our vantage point, Blake Ress and the IHSAA staff literally pulling out the ping pong balls and doing this in the classic blind draw format, which I think makes this even more exciting on a night like tonight.
Well, absolutely. And, sometimes you hear people ask, is the draw fair and all of that. It's an open event. We do have a handful of coaches here.
Right.
If anyone has any doubt, all they have to do is be here. It's as fair as it can be.
Pat McKee from the Indianapolis Star. I'm Bob Lovell from Network Indiana. Coming up after this break, we'll start the 1A North pairings. We'll bring them to you, and we encourage you, as we always do, sit back and enjoy the night, have as much fun as you can. If you get a chance, come down to Monument Circle and join us. You're listening to the Indiana High School Girls Basketball Tournament Pairing Show on the IHSAA Methodist Sports Medicine Championship Radio Network, brought to you in part by Methodist Sports Medicine, the official sports medicine provider of the IHSAA. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Bob Lovell, and joined by Pat McKee from the Indianapolis Star. Let us begin. 1A North Sectional, number 49 at Couts. This is a 5-team sectional. On Tuesday night, game number 1, Washington Township will take on Morgan Township. On Friday night, game number 2, Whiting will play Couts. Couts is number 3 in the single-A poll. Couts beat Whiting 58-13 back on November the 9th. La Crosse will play in game 2, taking on the winner of the Washington Township-Morgan Township matchup. Sectional number 50 at Oregon-Davis. This is a 6-team tournament. Game number 1. On Tuesday night, Oregon-Davis. They're ranked number 1. They are the defending champs. They'll be taking on Argus. Oregon-Davis won this game earlier in the year, 86-35. Also on Tuesday night, Triton will take on Westville in game number 2. Friday night, the second game of the evening, will feature South Central of Union Mills and Marquette Catholic. In sectional number 51 at Elkhart Christian Academy, this is a 7-team tournament. Game number 1, Hamilton will take on Keystone. Bethany Christian will play Elkhart Christian Academy. And the third game of sectional number 51 will feature Lake Park Christian and Blackhawk Christian. Fort Wayne Canterbury, ranked number 15, will play the winner of the Hamilton-Keystone matchup. In sectional number 52, this at North White. North White will take on Caston in game number 1. Followed by South Newton and Pioneer on Tuesday night. The second game on Friday night, after those respective winners will have played on Friday in Game 1, Tri-County will take on number 11, West Central. In sectional number 53 at Frontier, game number 1, taking the first ball game of the sectional. Tuesday night, Clinton Prairie will take on number 14, Tri-Central. Rossville will take on Lafayette Central Catholic on Friday night. Frontier will play the Clinton Prairie and Tri-Central winner. Sectional number 54, game number 1. Number 2, Southern Wells will play West Dell, followed by Cowan. They'll be playing Marion Lakeview Christian. Those winners will play game number 1 on Friday. The second game of Friday evening at sectional number 54 features Daleville and Liberty Christian. In sectional number 55, Randolph Southern, the host. Randolph Southern is ranked number 17 in the single-A poll. They'll play Monroe Central in game number 1, followed by Union of Modoc taking on Blue River Valley. On Friday night in game number 2, following the winner's game, number 10 Tri will play Union City, and Tri beat Union City 52-37 on November the 29th. And rounding out 1A North, Class Single-A North Sectional 56 at Covington. Game number 1 on Tuesday night. North Vermilion plays Attica. Game number 2, Riverton Park will take on Turkey Run. Those winners will play Friday night, followed by the Rockville-Covington matchup.